more information about this. So this CCTV footage is what we can show you right now. At least we're seeing 4 attackers, but we have more information regarding the car or the vehicle that exploded outside, and Hassan Mugambi joins us now to give us more details. Hassan, what more, or rather, what have you learned about this vehicle that exploded? And this is what we were told even with the police briefing. Hassan?
The city of Nairobi, a city of 4 million people, a city that knows how to move. Motorbikes threading through traffic, vendors calling out from the roadside, office workers crossing courtyards in the afternoon sun. January 15th, 2019, a Tuesday, 2:30 in the afternoon. A man walks into the Dusit D2 Hotel Complex on Riverside Drive. He looks calm. He is carrying a bag. He moves toward the restaurant at the center of the courtyard, and he detonates. The blast rips through the complex, glass, smoke, screaming. Then the gunmen come through the gate. What follows is 20 hours of terror. It claims 21 lives, it injures dozens more, and it produces one of the most extraordinary individual acts of courage the modern world has ever seen, captured on live television by a man almost nobody had heard of until that day. Christian Craighead was born in 1976 in Newcastle upon Tyne, the northeast of England, a place of shipyards and hard winters, and people who don't make a fuss about difficulty. He didn't have an easy childhood. His mother was a single parent. He never met his father until later in life. He credits his grandmother with making him the person he became. At 8 years old, he was attacked by 2 older boys, teenagers, recently released from juvenile prison. They tortured him for almost 2 hours, stepping on his chest, slapping him, making fun of him. He had nowhere to go, and no one came. Most children are broken by something like that. Craighead wasn't. He decided somewhere in those 2 hours what kind of person he was going to be. He didn't enjoy childhood. All he was doing, he later said, was waiting to grow up, waiting to get into the army. The earliest he could, and that is what he was going to do. At 13, he joined the Army Cadets. At 16, he enlisted in the British Army. His family did not think he could do it. His recruiters told him to consider something more practical. He said no. He wanted the Parachute Regiment. The Parachute Regiment is not a place for the faint-hearted. It is one of the most physically and mentally demanding infantry units in the British Army. Craighead had been inspired by its role in the Falkland War. The regiment's reputation had passed into legend, and he earned his place. After 3 years with the 2nd Battalion, he was selected for the Pathfinder Platoon, a specialist reconnaissance unit conducting high-altitude parachute operations and deep reconnaissance behind enemy lines. During this time, he also qualified as a sniper, but he still was not done. The SAS, Britain's most elite Special Forces unit, 22 Regiment. The ones whose motto, "Who dares wins," is not just a slogan, it is a way of thinking. It took him 3 attempts to pass the SAS selection, 3 times through one of the most grueling processes on the planet. Days of brutal navigation across the Beacon beacons, carrying impossible loads in all weather, alone. 3 times, and he didn't quit. His natural get-the-job-done mindset eventually secured him a place at the pinnacle of most soldiers' dreams. Tier 1 Special Forces. Over 28 years he deployed to Northern Ireland, Iraq, Afghanistan. He was wounded in action. He did things that will never be made public. Operations that don't have names in any official record, carried out by men the government doesn't officially acknowledge. When he arrived in Nairobi in January of 2019, he was not a soldier on a mission. He was just a man training local forces, on attachment, off duty. The attack began at around 2:30 p.m. A suicide bomber detonated near the restaurant at the center of the complex. After the blast, the remaining terrorists forced guards to open the gates by shooting at them and lobbing grenades. They set parked vehicles on fire. Then they went inside to hunt down as many people as possible. People hid under desks, in storerooms, in bathrooms, in silence, pressing their hands to their mouths, listening to the sound of boots on corridor floors. Craighead received a call from a friend alerting him to what was happening. Without seeking permission from his superiors, he drove to the scene. When he arrived, no security teams, no military response, no one was actively tackling the threat of pulling trapped civilians to safety. He opened his vehicle, he retrieved his assault rifle, his Glock pistol, and his combat knife. He put on a balaclava and he went in. Alone. Let that sink in for a second. Imagine stepping into a place where you have no idea how many terrorists are waiting for you. Do they have snipers, assault rifles? Have they rigged the place with explosives? He had no clue. He just went in. What happened next was captured by news cameras stationed outside the complex. The world watched a masked man, unidentified, moving with complete precision, emerge from the smoke carrying a terrified civilian, then another, then disappear back into the building while shots rang out above him. He wore a shield badge on his vest, identified himself as agent, and called out Eagle Security Forces as he moved from floor to floor, pulling people from hiding. He took charge of the entire operation, coordinating both police and army units who were present but paralyzed by indecision. Later, with a small group he had assembled on the spot, he led them into the building's basement to eliminate the remaining terrorists hidden there. He later described the events inside as far more brutal than anyone could have imagined, putting his skills and expertise to the ultimate test. But in that moment, he said, something else was happening, something quieter. On that day, I could hear more, see further. I was more agile, stronger. I was totally dialed in. Flow state, the condition special forces operators train for across decades, where the gap between thinking and doing disappears completely. For 20 hours he kept going back in. When it was over, he had saved 27 hostages. He had killed 5 terrorists. Reports credit his actions with saving over 700 lives in total, civilians who escaped the complex while he held the threat at bay. The crowd outside gave him a completely different name. They called him Obi-Wan Nairobi. The British government's response, on the other hand, was not a parade. A senior member of the British military called him a bad example to young soldiers. His mutineer attitude, they said, promotes lawlessness in the military. The UK Foreign Office said he should not have done what he did in Kenya. Let that sit for a moment. A man off duty, alone, armed with only a rifle and a pistol, walked into an active terrorist attack and saved hundreds of people's lives because no one else was doing it, and the institution he served for 28 years called him a mutineer. His decision to allow his actions to be publicized caused deep tensions within the SAS, a regiment that operates in secrecy, whose members are never supposed to be seen. It ultimately led to his resignation from the military. After that, he wrote a book, One Man In. The Ministry of Defense blocked its publication. He sought a judicial review. The courts denied him. He was denied even the right to appeal. The story of what happened inside the building, the full truth of those 20 hours, remains classified. There is an irony in that is almost too sharp to say out loud. The SAS motto is, "Who dares, wins." The man who dared, the man who won, was punished for it. In 2019, President Donald Trump invited him to the White House to thank him personally for saving American lives during the Nairobi attack. After 28 years of service, Craighead retired in 2020. He now lives in the United States. He trains police units, military personnel, and security teams. He gives keynote speeches. He wrote a children's book, The Wrong Wolf, about doing the right thing even when it costs you. The title says everything about how he understands what happened in Nairobi. He doesn't see himself as a hero who broke the rules. He sees himself as someone who understood at a fundamental level what the rules are actually for. He wrote on Instagram, on that day in 2019, it was never about getting a medal. It was about stepping up, doing the right thing, and getting the job done. There is a version of January 15th, 2019, where Christian Craighead receives that phone call. He considers the risk and he stays where he is. Most people would, and most people do. There is no shame in it. That is what every single protocol, every chain of command, every risk assessment is designed to produce. Wait, check, authorize, then escalate. But somewhere in that building, 700 people were hiding, and there was one man outside with a rifle and a decision to make. I wrote this fucking script and this part always gets me fucking emotional. There was one man outside with a rifle and a decision to make. He had made that decision before, at 8 years old, on the ground, being hurt by boys who were bigger than him. He had decided then what kind of wolf he was. On January 15th, 2019, the world found out. Stay safe, everyone. Take care.